These classic Italian Bocconotti are sort of a mix between a pastry tart and a brownie. They're traditional all over Italy, and there are different variations in different regions. This is how my Nonna made them, and they're super easy even though they look really impressive. Let me show you how to make them. To a bowl, add 60 grams or half a cup of plain or all-purpose flour and 56 grams, 4.5 tablespoons of sugar. You'll need probably about 1 cup of flour for this recipe, but I always like to start with half a cup and work my way up. It's much easier to add more flour than it is to add more liquid. And then just pour this onto your working surface. Create a well in your flour mixture, making sure you have enough on the edges that your egg and butter doesn't run out. Into your bowl, add 4 egg yolks. If you're a bit nervous about separating your eggs, I've linked my video down below to show you exactly how to do it, no fail, every time. And 114 grams, half a cup of butter that has been melted and brought to room temperature. You can also use the same measurement of olive oil in this recipe, but I really love the flavor that the butter gives. And just give that a mix together. It's important that your butter is at room temperature so that you don't scramble your egg yolks. Now tip your wet ingredients into the well you made earlier. Slowly start to bring the edges of your flour into the wet mixture. Be careful not to break the edges. Otherwise, your egg will just run all over the place. Now slowly start adding in more of your flour. I'm going to add about a tablespoon at a time. Your dough might not look this orange. I've used very red egg yolks, so don't be worried if it doesn't look quite like mine. When it starts to get more solid, I like to switch to my hands and use a bread scraper to get it off the counter.
You could, of course, just whack it all in the food processor and blitz it up like that.
It's still a little bit soft. I'm going to add a bit more flour.
Now the dough is holding together nicely, it's ready to be chilled.
I've used 160 grams of flour, which works out to about 1 1/3 cups. Cover your dough with cling film, or I'm just using a beeswax wrap, and I like to press it right over top of my dough so we don't get any crusty bits. And now I'm going to chill it for 30 minutes while we make our filling. To a bowl, add 142 grams or 1 cup of ground almonds. When my Nonna would make these, she didn't necessarily have ground almond flour on hand, so she would use blanched almonds and pop them in the food processor along with her chunks of chocolate. Then they blended together really nicely without having to grate the chocolate or work on the almonds. Then add in 50 grams or 1 3/4 ounces, which is about 2 baker squares of bittersweet or dark unsweetened chocolate. Now add in 200 grams, 1 cup of sugar, and the zest of 1 lemon. You could also use an orange if you don't want to use a lemon. And you can stop here, but I really like to boost the chocolate flavor, so this is my little twist on my Nonna's recipe. I'm adding in 30 grams, 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder. You could go even further with the flavors by adding in a teaspoon or 2 of instant espresso powder or even a few pinches of cinnamon. Now let's mix it all together. Now set that aside while we whisk up our egg whites. Add the 4 remaining egg whites from earlier into a very clean bowl and whisk them to stiff peaks. You want your egg whites to still have a little gloss to them, so don't over whip them. Add 1/3 of your egg whites to your almond mixture and just start to mix it in. Don't worry about losing air at this stage. These are known as our sacrificial egg whites. This helps to moisten the dry ingredients so that it's easier to fold in the rest of the egg whites later. Add the rest of your egg whites to the mixture and then just start to fold it in. I like to come down the center and around the bowl. And maybe use a bigger bowl than I've used. Keep going until you have no egg whites visible and all of the dry ingredients have mixed in with the wet. You should have a nice chocolatey almondy paste. I inherited these beautiful tins from my Nonna, but if you don't have these tins, you can just use a mini muffin tin or any tins you have. Just make sure to grease them well. Once you've taken your pastry out of the fridge, you're going to break off small pieces and fill each tin. What I love about this recipe is there's no rolling. We're just pressing the pastry in. For our smaller pieces, take a smaller piece of dough and then just start pressing it in, right into the bottom, creating your divot and all the way up the sides. If you have any excess around the edges, just peel it off with your fingers. Here's what your filled tin should look like. If you're using a larger tin, you may need to play around with how much dough you need. I've used a slightly larger ball, and just like the small ones, I'm just pressing it up the side, but I can already tell that's not going to be enough dough, so I'll just grab a little bit more and add it in. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. I've moved my smaller tins to another tray because they're going to bake at a different rate than the larger ones. This way, we don't have any burning or undercooking. With 2 spoons, just add a little bit of filling to each tin. You want it to be almost level with the pastry at the top. The egg white is going to cause the filling to puff up and almost dome over. My Nonna could fly through these. She would fill them so fast. In some regions of Italy, they save some of the pastry and place it on top of the filling. I like to make sure there's just enough space around the edges so that the air can really heat up that crust and we don't have any soggy bottoms. And those are ready for the oven. My smaller tins baked for about 12 to 15 minutes, and the larger ones went up to 18 minutes to get that beautiful goldenness on the edge of the pastry. You'll want these to cool for about 15 to 20 minutes, just until they're not scalding hot to touch, and then take them out of the tins before they're completely cooled. My mom always used to say how difficult these were to get out of the tins when my Nonna would make them. It used to drive her crazy. But if you use my pan release, they almost fall out every single time. I'll link my recipe in the description and comments below. I promise it's super easy. Give your Bocconotti a light dusting with powdered or icing sugar. The pastry is crisp and buttery, and the filling is soft and almondy and chocolatey, almost a bit like a brownie. It's a beautiful contrast of textures and flavors, and it looks so impressive on any Christmas cookie plate. This recipe makes about 16 to 20 mid-sized Bocconotti, or about 30 small ones, depending on the size of your tin. I've actually halved my Nonna's recipe because it makes so much, but feel free to make extra if you'd like. Because the almond and egg white mixture stay really moist, you can actually freeze these cookies for up to 3 months once they've been baked. Then take them out of the freezer for about 30 minutes to an hour before serving, give them a dusting of your powdered or icing sugar, and they're ready to serve. But they will last for 1 week in an airtight container. If you're looking for more Christmas cookie inspiration, check out my playlist here. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button down below, and I'll see you next week.